My elder sister never fought or competed, always yielding in every matter, while I strove to excel, always taking the lead in everything. She enjoyed the benefits I secured for her, becoming empress. Yet she sternly lectured me that one must not be overly competitive in life. Even when I was framed and near death, begging her to save me, she chose to sacrifice family for righteousness. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the road, accompanying my sister and the deposed crown prince into exile. This time, I resolved to fight only for myself. War raged on. Corpses littered the land. I strained every muscle to push through the throng of refugees, scrambling for the white steamed buns a kind benefactor had distributed. The crowd was too dense. I was jostled and shoved, and when I finally bent to pick up a bun that had rolled to the ground, my hand was trampled several times. My hands and feet ached, nearly crushed to death. Yet I clutched the 4 buns I'd fought for and presented them to my sister and the deposed Crown Prince Peijing. But my sister selected 1 clean bun for Peijing, then distributed the other 3 to the surrounding refugees. I was stunned. The refugee who received a steamed bun kowtowed to my sister. "Thank you, young lady. You are beautiful and kind-hearted. You will surely be blessed." After kowtowing to my sister, the refugee didn't forget to glare at me. I recognized him. He was the refugee who had fought me for the steamed buns on the ground. He hadn't managed to take any from me, but he had viciously stomped on my foot, rubbing my bruised and swollen hand. I seethed inwardly. The steamed bun I'd fought tooth and nail to snatch back, and my sister just hands it away to someone else. Not only did she show no remorse, she scolded me. "How can you compete with the common folk for food? Seeing their suffering like this, how could you bear to fight them for it? But if I don't fight, I'll starve to death." After finishing his steamed bun, Peijing wiped his mouth and spoke with renewed vigor. "Hai Tang, your sister is right. He who wins the people's hearts wins the world. If you fight the common folk for food today, won't you be fighting them for profit tomorrow?" Hearing this, the displaced people nearby couldn't help but give them thumbs up, praising their noble character. I stood beside them like a clown, mocked by all. A moment of clarity washed over me as my present circumstances overlapped with memories. Every detail of my past life came vividly to mind. I realized I had been reborn into the days when my elder sister and I accompanied the deposed Crown Prince Peijing into exile. Crown Prince Peijing had been falsely accused of treason. The emperor stripped him of his title, banishing him to the bitterly cold northern frontier of Ningguda. My elder sister Jean Tang and I, as the prince's personal maids, were originally sentenced to death. It was the empress who secretly sent us to accompany the exiled Peijing. She promised us future glory and wealth, demanding we spare no effort to protect Peijing's life. She vowed to risk everything within the palace to help him regain his position. The journey of exile was fraught with danger, as many in the court sought to kill Peijing. Fortunately, the queen's secret guards handled the covert assassination attempts. My sister and I were tasked with ensuring the crown prince's basic sustenance during exile, that he wouldn't starve, freeze, or fall ill. But my sister and the crown prince, their hearts set on the welfare of the realm, distributed all the travel funds I'd secretly brought out of the capital to the destitute beggars we encountered along the way. Without funds, we faced hunger. The secret guards, unable to bear it, provided silver several times, which could have sustained us for a while. But the war had created too many refugees. The silver the secret guards provided was also generously distributed by my sister and the crown prince to the displaced people. I urged them to keep some silver, warning that they would starve otherwise. My sister rebuked me for being selfish. As someone close to the crown prince, deeply influenced by his benevolence, how could I disregard the lives of the people? Her rebuke left me ashamed, and I could only watch helplessly as she gave away every last coin. Now even the secret guards were completely out of provisions. I saw the very guards who had aided us scrambling alongside me for the thin porridge and steamed buns given out by the charitable. They were gaunt and emaciated from hunger. On multiple occasions, assassination attempts went unblocked, nearly costing Beijing his life. With no silver left and our stomachs growling, my sister would sigh and lament beside the crown prince, lamenting the suffering war brought upon the people and the hardships of their lives. Only I fought desperately among the refugees, scrambling for thin porridge, steamed buns, and blankets. I even secretly followed the secret guards into the mountains to hunt partridges and rabbits. Yet my sister would casually distribute the things I fought so hard to obtain to the refugees around her. She even released the rabbit I chased halfway across the mountain, saying, "The little rabbit is so cute. Even if I starve to death, I couldn't bring myself to eat it." Her noble deeds earned not only the refugees' admiration but also Beijing's approval. Beijing saw her as unassuming and selfless, possessing the virtue to be a mother to the realm. After his triumphant return to the throne, he made my sister empress and had storytellers widely praise her conduct during exile. Even as empress, she remained as serene as a chrysanthemum. The imperial consort repeatedly sought to harm her, yet feared my relentless vengeance. Thus, she went so far as to sacrifice her own child to frame me, all to eliminate the capable ally by my sister's side. I begged my sister to save me, but she said it was my own fault for being overly competitive and making too many enemies, leading to this bitter outcome. Yet everything I fought for ultimately benefited her. Not only did she refuse to save me, she executed me in the name of justice. After my death, the imperial consort was overjoyed. Within a month, she poisoned the eldest prince my sister had given birth to. What happened after that? I know not. Now, heaven has shown mercy, granting me a second chance. I will never be as foolish as I was in my past life, fighting only to line my sister's pockets. Ignoring the mockery of the surrounding refugees, I walked to the side, pulled a steamed bun I had hidden earlier from my bosom, and began to devour it greedily. Knowing my sister would always take my hard-won food, I always hid a little for later. In my past life, whatever I hid, we'd share. She'd eat reluctantly while scolding me for being selfish. This time, I wasn't sharing. Filling my own belly wasn't enough. My sister was hungry too, her eyes fixed on the steamed bun in my hand. She kept swallowing, expecting me to offer her some, but I finished it in just a few bites. She looked at me, disappointed, her voice tinged with displeasure. "How could you be so selfish? Hai Tang?" I swallowed the last bite of steamed bun with satisfaction and replied with a sweet smile. "Big sister is a saint, but I'm not. I need to eat to survive." The escorting constables came urging us to move on. Beijing couldn't care less about trivial matters like who ate and who didn't. He stood up and led us forward. Sister clutched her rumbling stomach, growing weak after just a few steps. The officers wouldn't tolerate her slowing them down, the whip cracked instantly. To avoid the lash, Sister forced herself into a weak jog. She reached my side, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hai Tang, what is it?" I stared at her expressionless. Her lips moved, and finally she spoke. "Do you have any food left?" I nearly laughed out loud. So all along, she'd been sharing the food I'd snatched because she was certain I'd save some for her. Yet every time she ate what I'd set aside, she'd act so reluctant, saying she couldn't swallow a bite knowing so many common folk were starving. "None left. You gave it all away." Without looking at her, I took a sip of the thin porridge I'd secretly poured into my water bottle. It felt like my whole body was recharged. I stole a glance at the hidden guards nearby. I planned to sneak up the mountain with them at dusk, when the officials were resting, to hunt rabbits. A steamed bun meant little to Beijing. By mid-afternoon, he was hungry again. I could only offer the thin porridge I'd hidden in my water flask. He took it and devoured it in a few bites, not sharing a single mouthful with my sister, who was already weak from hunger. By evening, my sister was pale as a ghost and could barely walk. The constable eyed my sister with a sly grin. "Just spend one night with me, young lady, and I'll make sure you live like royalty." The escorting constables were poor men themselves, no luxury feasts. But they could spare a steamed bun. My sister looked at the constable with disdain and said, "Have you not heard? Starving to death is a small matter, but losing one's virtue is a great one. I would rather die than submit to you." The constable spat. "Then starve to death." Then, as usual, the constables tossed Beijing a bowl of stale rice. Though he was a deposed crown prince, Beijing refused to eat spoiled food. I set the bowl aside and headed to the mountain's base to meet my secret guards. Together, we ventured into the woods to hunt partridges and hares. Before long, we'd caught 2 partridges and a hare. In my past life, I'd given one partridge to the guards, taking the other partridge and the hare back myself. Later, my sister released the hare. This time, I instructed the guards to roast both pheasants themselves, sun-dry them into jerky, and carry it as emergency rations. I carried the rabbit back myself. My sister, weak with hunger, still insisted on struggling over to release my rabbit. Beijing praised my sister's kindness beside us, saying heaven cherishes life, and urged me to release the rabbit too. I paid them no mind. In a few swift motions, I prepared the rabbit, skewered it over the fire, and soon it sizzled and crackled, its aroma drawing the resting constables over. The officers gave me a few copper coins, bought 2 rabbit legs, and ate them with relish nearby. I pulled a rabbit leg over to Beijing. He, who had just been agreeing with my sister about releasing the rabbit, was now also tempted by the aroma. He took it and took a bite. He hadn't eaten meat in a long time, and that bite of rich, savory rabbit meat brought a look of pure satisfaction to his face. I tore off a rabbit leg for myself and ate it with deep satisfaction. My sister stood nearby, swallowing hard, her eyes shining. She shuffled over hesitantly, muttering about it being a sin. Yet she reached out, tore off a piece of rabbit meat, and stuffed it into her mouth. I gave her a cool look. "Sister, I thought you didn't eat rabbit. Why are you having some now?" She quickly found a way out. "The rabbit is dead. We can't let its death go to waste." I snorted and said, "Sister, from now on, if you want to eat something, go get it yourself. The Empress ordered us two to take care of the Crown Prince's food and drink. You're not responsible for the Crown Prince, so that's fine. But you can't expect me to provide for your own meals too." She stared at me in shock. "We're sisters. How can you be so petty?" Chewing on a rabbit leg, I admitted without hesitation, "You know perfectly well I'm always petty. Otherwise, you wouldn't have scolded me the whole way here." The rabbit meat smelled so delicious it drew several nearby refugees. Sister, in a sudden fit of generosity, wanted to share the remaining meat with them. This time, before she could distribute it, I quickly stuffed all the rabbit meat into my dry rations bag. The next few days' journey would be through mountain paths. Unlike the city, where kind-hearted people offered charity rice porridge and steamed buns, we'd go hungry if we couldn't hunt game. In my previous life, we'd barely survived that stretch thanks to half a chicken from the secret guards. My sister stared at me, her voice filled with anguish. "How can you be so cruel and selfish? You've already brutally killed the rabbit. It should be shared to help more people. Now you selfishly want to keep it all for yourself? Do you want to watch the people starve to death? How ridiculous! Just look at their clothes, they're not common folk. They're bandits. Where's the gaunt, emaciated look of refugees?" I hid the rabbit meat behind my back and said, "If we share it with them, We'll starve. There's nothing but mountain paths ahead. Seeing my refusal, sister went to plead with Pei Jing. She knew that once Pei Jing spoke, I'd have no choice but to obey. But this time, Pei Jing didn't listen to her. He said, Hai Tang has a point. If we give them food, we'll starve. Besides, these men don't look like refugees. Indeed, they hadn't come for sustenance. The leader, a man with a thick beard, approached my sister and scrutinized her from head to toe. You're a pretty little thing. Come back with me and be my chieftain's wife. Terrified, my sister retreated behind me. The bandit studied me closely by the firelight, grinning lecherously. This one's pretty too. How about both of you come up the mountain to serve the boss? Just like in my past life, whenever danger approached, sister would cling to me, weak and vulnerable. This bandit was dangerous. In my past life, he nearly forced himself on me. Fortunately, an assassin had come to kill Pei Jing that very moment. An arrow flew in from the shadows. In my panic, I grabbed the bandit and used him as a shield. The bandit died instantly. My sister scolded me then, saying, that was a human life. How could you be so cruel as to use him as a shield? After all, he hadn't actually assaulted me. Even if he had, it wasn't a crime worthy of death. Though I felt wronged then. Seeing a living person die before my eyes after my hands were stained with blood for the first time was a shock. I didn't argue. This time, I wouldn't shield my sister from danger again. I dodged the bandit's grabbing hand with a cold laugh and deftly slipped behind Pei Jing. The bandit grabbed at thin air, seizing my sister instead. He threw her to the ground, ignoring her screams as he tore at her clothes. Snarling, can't wait to get up the mountain. I'm starving for you right now. Just then, a cold arrow whistled straight toward Pei Jing. I yanked Pei Jing down with me, rolling sideways to narrowly evade the arrow. Hidden guards nearby immediately gave chase toward the shooter's position. We'd been standing close to the bandits anyway, and this roll landed us right beside them and my sister. Frustrated by her resistance, the bandit lashed out, slapping my sister hard across the face. The blow left her unable even to cry out. Pei Jing, unable to bear the sight, quickly released me, drew the sword at his waist, and struck down the bandit with a single blow. Having trained in martial arts since childhood, he was more than a match for these bandits. The remaining bandits who had been blocking Pei Jing and me scattered in all directions upon seeing this. My elder sister, still shaken, stood up and saw the bandit who had tried to force himself on her lying lifeless. She shook her head and sighed. In these chaotic times, turning to banditry must have been his only choice. Though he tried to take me by force, it wasn't a crime deserving death. Why did you kill him outright? Pei Jing hadn't expected to be scolded after saving her. His expression darkened. Showing mercy to the common folk is one thing, but extending that same attitude to bandits who commit every conceivable evil? That's sheer stupidity. I'm laughing myself to death. Pei Jing never tolerates criticism of his actions. Though he appreciates sister's kindness, she can impose her kindness on me, but not on him. Rebuked by Pei Jing, sister felt wronged and silently withdrew to weep alone. Before, when she cried over grievances, I'd always comfort her. Not anymore. I intend to sleep until the sun is high in the sky. Rest up for tomorrow's journey, and maybe even hunt some game to try. The night was deep and heavy with dew, the chill creeping in. I woke in the middle of the night, frozen stiff. Such is life on the exile road, once you leave the city. The sky is your blanket and the earth your bed. Pei Jing was cold too, huddled into a tight ball. I rose, stripped the dead bandit leader's fur coat from his body, and smoothed it over Pei Jing. Pei Jing reached out and pulled me close, draping the coat across both of us. He said, Two people huddled together stay warmer. I didn't hesitate. After all, I'd already been Peijing since my days in the Eastern Palace. Holding Peijing close, I slept warmly until dawn. My elder sister had fallen ill from the cold that night. Upon learning I'd slept with Peijing, she berated me for shamelessness, demanding how I could act so improperly when men and women should not touch each other. Had I not done so, I would surely have frozen sick like her. Both of us were sick. Did she really expect Peijing to tend to us? Besides, in my previous life, when I pushed her toward Peijing and had her share his animal skin cloak, she hadn't refused either. What had she said back then? She said that as the crown prince's personal attendant, it was her duty to warm his bed. So basically, when she does the same thing, it's a proper duty. But when I do it, I'm shameless. I couldn't be bothered with her. Urged on by the officials, we pressed northward. The further north we went, the colder it became. Those warm winter clothes had long been generously given away to the displaced people by my elder sister. Now everyone shivers with cold, and she herself, already ill, has been further weakened by the chill. She can't stomach the frozen rabbit meat and has grown thin as a rail, nearing death. Only the officials have dry rations. We could use the fire to boil some porridge and save her life. She moved closer to me and whispered, "Hai Tang, I remember you traded a rabbit leg for some copper coins. Could you give them to the officers? Could you ask them to boil a small bowl of porridge for me?" I glanced at Peijing. After my sister fell ill, Peijing had been attentive at first, checking on her and offering warmth. But as time passed, his concern gradually faded. These past 2 days, he hadn't even asked about her, letting the 2 officers behind support her as she walked. Those officers weren't inherently cruel, though they'd fed Peijing stale food along the way. They were only following orders from above. Of course, Peijing never ate the stale food they offered, because I always found a way to get him something else to eat. Now, Peijing glanced at my sister beside me. A beauty in sickness always evokes special pity. He nodded, signaling for me to use copper coins to buy my sister half a bowl of porridge. I handed the coins to my sister. But could half a bowl of porridge truly cure her illness? That day, I walked ahead. After drinking the porridge, sister regained some strength and followed behind with the constable. I heard the constable say to her, "If you agree to marry me, I will protect your life." Sister replied, "But we are being exiled to Ninguda. You are the escort constable. Once we reach Ninguda, you must return to the capital." "How could I marry you?" The officer replied mysteriously. "That's none of your concern. I have my ways." What methods could he possibly have? Merely better intelligence than ours. At the relay station, he'd learned of court developments that through the Empress Dowager's efforts, Peijing's false accusation of treason was being overturned. Throughout his exile, Peijing had earned a good reputation. Once his wrongful conviction was cleared, he would naturally be restored to his position as crown prince. As his personal palace attendants, my elder sister and I would naturally accompany him back. Counting the days, our return to the palace truly isn't far off. Behind us, my elder sister promised the constable that if he could protect her life and help her reach the capital, she would marry him. Perhaps having faced death's door and endured Peijing's neglect for so long, she's finally begun plotting for herself. Humph. I thought she'd remain as pure and unassuming as a chrysanthemum. Now she knows to trade copper coins for porridge to stay alive, and barter marriage for a chance back to the capital. Peijing overheard her conversation with the constable. He gave a cold snort but said nothing. Remember, back in the Eastern Palace, sister was already Peijing's woman. If he were still crown prince, how could he tolerate anyone else laying claim to his woman? Sister must have assumed Peijing would perish in Ninguda. If she returned to the capital with the constable, She'd sever all ties with him. Ever since she agreed to the constable's marriage proposal. He's been exceedingly attentive. At every post station, he paid for her medical treatment and procured delicacies to nourish her. Each time, she would secretly follow the official, returning only after finishing her meal, never sharing even a morsel with us. She wasn't one to share everything. After all, Beijing merely watched coldly, growing increasingly distant from her. Sometimes he wouldn't speak a single word to her all day. She would just stay by his side, leaving me to handle Beijing's meals and daily needs. Beijing grew increasingly warm toward me. That day, also at the inn, a secret guard delivered a note. I saw Beijing's hand tremble as he held it. Yet his voice was unnaturally calm. Hai Tang, our days of hardship are finally over. I knew it was good news from Her Majesty the Empress. In my past life, Beijing had spoken these words to my elder sister. Because I had always pushed myself forward to handle his daily needs, securing food, clothing, and shelter, creating opportunities for them to enjoy moonlit nights together. This time around, when my elder sister reproached Beijing for killing the bandit leader, a rift formed between them. Her subsequent illness then wore down his patience. Now, she had even privately pledged herself to an official, striking at the very core of Beijing's pride. When the imperial carriage sent to fetch Beijing pulled up outside the inn, my sister's illness had largely subsided under the constable's attentive care. Gazing at the grand procession of carriages and official palanquins outside the inn, her face paled and she swayed unsteadily. She had gambled that the constable would take her back to the capital. She had gambled wrong. In the end, it was Beijing who brought her back. My sister pulled me aside, looking at me hesitantly, words on the tip of her tongue. I couldn't stand her coyness and urged her to speak up. She stammered. Hai Tang, now that we're both returning to the palace with the crown prince, that official is clinging to me like glue. But he seems afraid of you. Could you help me get rid of him? Because I hold grudges. And Beijing usually protects me. That official really doesn't dare bully me. But how could I possibly help her get rid of a marriage she herself had promised? I could only say, you're the crown prince's person. That official probably wouldn't dare do anything to you. She grew impatient and said, I can't leverage the crown prince's influence to pressure him, that would make me a bully. Besides, if I can't annul the engagement, won't I be entangled with him? How could I remain by the crown prince's side afterward? So she wanted to stay near the crown prince. In my past life, when I pushed her toward him and created opportunities for them to be alone, she seemed reluctant, as if I'd forced her. I chuckled. Sister, you've earned merit protecting the crown prince. Ask him to grant you permission to marry the constable, he'd surely show you this favor. Hearing this, she stared at me in shock, her voice filled with anguish. Hai Tang, how could you? I already belong to the crown prince. A woman serves but one husband, how could I marry a constable? I was speechless. Now she remembered a woman cannot serve two husbands? Then why did she agree to the betrothal in the first place? Did she think Beijing had no chance of survival? That he was doomed to die? I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. Nothing works. Nothing fits. Figure it out yourself. She looked as if she'd suffered the greatest injustice. I'm your elder sister. How can you be so cold-hearted? How can you abandon me like this? She still remembers she's my elder sister? When she used the things I risked my life to seize to build her own reputation. Why didn't she think of me as her sister then? When she used me as her pawn, sending me to the front lines in her palace intrigues. Why didn't she think of me as her sister? When she knew I was framed yet still demanded my execution. Why didn't she think of me as her sister? Beijing, waiting for the carriage in the distance, glanced our way and called out, Hai Tang, come board the carriage with me. Hearing him call only my name, My sister's heart shattered with disappointment. Crown Prince Peijing was reinstated, regaining control of the Eastern Palace. As palace maids who had endured hardships alongside the Crown Prince, my sister and I received numerous imperial rewards. Our fortunes transformed. Within the Eastern Palace, everyone from the Crown Prince down fawned over us, basking in the glory. Faced with everyone's flattery, my sister still smiled indifferently, saying all this was the Crown Prince's good fortune, that she and I had done nothing. In my previous life, the Crown Prince loved her for her unflappable composure. Seeing her refuse to take credit, he praised her virtue and immediately granted her the title of secondary consort upon his return. This time, the Crown Prince heard her words. He merely gave a cold laugh. Indeed, she did nothing. But Haitang saved my life. How can she claim she did nothing? She may have no merit herself. But how dare she erase Haitang's contribution as well? I never imagined Jean Tang to be so deceitful. Hearing the Crown Prince's words, the Empress took my hand. I have not misjudged you. You are remarkably resilient. Jinner has a kind heart, and I can only rest easy knowing you are by his side. The Emperor intends to arrange a marriage between Jinner and Yunmeng, the daughter of the Chancellor. I do not favor Yunmeng and have not consented to her becoming Crown Princess. Today, I shall decide. Haitang and Yunmeng shall both become secondary consorts to the Crown Prince, marrying on the same day. Truthfully, the day he became Crown Prince, I knew my fate was bound to his forever, no hope of leaving the palace. Life within these walls demands climbing step by step. Otherwise, even the last crumbs of bone would be gnawed clean. In my previous life, I thought aiding my elder sister in her ascent would also protect me. Yet I met a tragic end. Now I must climb upward on my own. After I expressed my gratitude, the Empress turned to my elder sister, frowned, and said, Jean Tang, you have always been a level-headed person. Having become someone close to Xing'er, how could you privately pledge your life to an official? My sister knelt in terror. Your Majesty, I was near death from illness. I had no choice but to feign agreement with that constable to save my life and continue serving the Crown Prince. After speaking, she signaled me with her eyes to plead for her. Such is life in the palace. If my elder sister faces punishment, I cannot escape blame either. Now, I could only speak for her. Your Majesty, my elder sister erred, yet her actions were compelled by circumstance. I implore your mercy. Seeing my plea, the Empress replied, I had feared you might be too hard-hearted, child. But now I see you possess both compassion and loyalty. I am well aware of all you've endured on your journey. That you still plead for her is truly rare. Jean Tang, you and the Crown Prince have weathered hardships together. I shall not make things difficult for you, causing hearts to grow cold. I grant you the title of Attendant of Honor. You must cease all contact with that official, lest you bring shame upon the imperial family. My elder sister prostrated herself in gratitude. In my past life, she was a secondary consort, while I was a principal consort. Now I am the secondary consort, and she is the consort of honor. Though she exhausts herself buying favor with palace gifts, the courtier are shrewd. Seeing the Crown Prince neglect her and her low rank, they know she lacks favor and keep their distance. I didn't deliberately scatter money to win favor. Yet many came to curry favor, bringing all sorts of rare trinkets. In the palace, without favor, scattering thousands of gold pieces only hastens one's demise. Peijing seemed to have forgotten sister entirely. Most of his time was spent either staying with me or with Lu Yundong. Throughout the Eastern Palace, everyone knew Lu Yundong and I were the most favored. On my way to deliver pastries to Peijing, I encountered my elder sister. She begged me to carry something for her to Peijing. It turned out that without me fighting for her, she would fight for herself. The thing she wanted me to give Beijing was an old handkerchief. I agreed, knowing that if I refused, she would turn to Liu Yuming instead. I still couldn't gauge how much lingering affection Beijing truly held for my elder sister. After all, her kindness and compassion were carefully crafted to fit the persona Beijing preferred. If she regained favor and allied with Liu Yuming, I would be left in a very vulnerable position. Seeing my sister's handkerchief, Beijing must have been stirred by fond memories of the past. That very night, he went to her quarters. By the next day, he had elevated her status, promoting her from attendant of honor to instructor of the palace. I was relieved I hadn't let her go to Liu Yuming. Beijing is one to cherish old affection, and given the beautiful times he shared with my sister, letting go isn't so easy. With my sister regaining favor and our sister's influence growing strong in the Eastern Palace, Liu Yunming grew wary. She had someone track down that constable, threatening his family and offering him a large sum of gold and silver to harass my sister and force him to fulfill their marriage contract. My sister came crying to me again, begging me to get rid of that constable. You now hold the esteemed position of secondary consort and are most favored by the crown prince. Helping me deal with that constable is but a simple task. Won't you help your sister one more time? I asked her with a cold laugh. Sister, in your heart, I've always been nothing more than a tool to help you remove obstacles. Haven't I? You know full well we're not dealing with mere officials. But Liu Yundong, the daughter of the chancellor, whose power far surpasses ours. Yet you still want me to step in and smooth things over. What exactly are your intentions? You're now a royal tutor in the Eastern Palace. If it were truly just officials pestering you, would you be afraid? What you fear is Liu Yundong coming to me. You're using me as your weapon to deal with Liu Yundong for you, aren't you? When I called her out, she showed no shame, only saying, Hai Tang, we're in this together now. How could you not help me? Who said we're in this together? In my past life, she used me and discarded me. This lifetime, I certainly won't treat her as my partner in interests. Still, I agreed to help her settle this matter. That constable was bold and sly. He placed the betrothal gifts right at the Eastern Palace gates. He also bribed a servant to send word to my elder sister, demanding she meet him at midnight beneath the peach tree in the Eastern Palace's rear garden. I dressed meticulously and went in her place to meet him there. A tall, slender figure stood beneath the tree, its face obscured by the dense shadows of the peach branches. No sooner had I reached the tree than that tall figure stepped forward and swept me into an embrace. Just then, torches flared to life as my elder sister hurried toward us with palace attendants in tow. My sister charged ahead, shouting, You audacious villain! How dare you conspire with the crown prince's secondary consort? What punishment do you deserve? A bitter laugh rose within me. So this was why my sister sent me, to eliminate both me and that constable, cutting off any future trouble. Alas, I was no longer the innocent Hai Tang of before. The one holding me was not a constable, but Crown Prince Beijing. That constable had been hacked to death with a flurry of blades the moment he entered the Eastern Palace's rear garden. I had lured Crown Prince Beijing to the peach tree in the back courtyard and deliberately had the lights in the rear garden dimmed, all to draw out my sister's trap. My heart had completely died. In my sister's eyes, I was nothing more than a disposable pawn. Only in my previous life had she disguised it well. I quickly wriggled free from Beijing's embrace, feigning surprise as I turned to my sister and demanded, Sister, what are you doing? Beijing also frowned and snapped. Jing Tang, I believed you to be kind and virtuous. Yet you would falsely accuse your own sister? What utter hypocrisy! Realizing her scheme had been exposed, my sister's legs gave way. She knelt, frantically begging for mercy. Your Highness, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Prince Beijing roared. 40 lashes. Let this serve as a warning to others. 40 lashes would be a death sentence for my frail sister. Prince Peijin was truly enraged. Her body began shaking uncontrollably. Her voice trembling. Prince, I beg your mercy. I am with child. If punishment must be meted out, please allow me to deliver first. Peijin froze. Silent for a long moment. The surrounding stillness felt terrifying. I knew Peijin had returned to the Eastern Palace seeking an heir, he'd mentioned it several times. But I've been secretly taking fertility-suppressing potions. The reason is simple, now is not the optimal time for me to conceive. Getting pregnant at this moment would likely mean I couldn't carry the child to term. Just then, a trembling court physician stepped forward to report. Congratulations. Your Highness. Rejoice. Your Highness. Both Consort Lu and Lady Li Zhaosun are with child. Great joy. Upon hearing that Lu Yundong was also pregnant, Pei Zhang's frown eased. In that case, the 40 strokes shall be postponed for now. Humph. My elder sister is no innocent. She plans meticulously for everything, always keeping a backup plan to protect herself. I also offered my congratulations to Pei Zhang. He looked at me, his eyes brimming with unhidden joy. Hai Tang, it is you I long to hear the news of your pregnancy most of all. I shall shower you with daily affection, mark my words. You shall conceive. Seeing him speak to me so openly before everyone, my sister's eyes flushed crimson with jealousy. Yet since I remained childless while she carried his child, securing her foothold in the Eastern Palace. A flicker of smug satisfaction flickered in her eyes. Peijin kept his word like gold. From that day on, he truly spent every night with me. To receive such lavish favor without bearing his child, though outwardly glorious, it was profoundly perilous. But in the palace, every single day was fraught with peril. While I basked in the splendor and wealth brought by Pei Zhang's lavish favor, I watched Lu Yundong and my elder sister battle it out day after day, each determined to cause the other's miscarriage. Neither succeeded. Both carried their pregnancies to full term and gave birth to daughters without incident. On the day both young ladies celebrated their full moon ceremonies, I received invitations from Lu Yundong and my elder sister. Each invited me to see the child she had born. Lu Yundong's invitation was utterly unthinkable. In my previous life, I had been lured to her by such an invitation. Her daughter died under mysterious circumstances, and I was framed for her death, ultimately executed by my elder sister. Yet as a secondary consort, failing to visit the newborns on their full-month celebrations would be utterly inappropriate. I forged the handwriting on the original invitations, drafting 2 new ones which palace maids delivered to Lu Yunmeng and my elder sister respectively. I must attend, but only after both sides have made their moves. Soon, an eunuch rushed in, reporting, "Bad news. Consort Lu and Instructor Li are screaming, crying, and fighting." Hearing this, I rose slowly and made my way to the scene to watch the spectacle. As expected, the scene was grand. Even the Empress had been alerted. Crown Prince Pei Zhang's face turned ashen as he commanded, "Drag these 2 venomous women out and beat them to death with clubs." The Empress, though equally displeased, interceded. "One shared hardships with you. The other is the Chancellor's daughter. Though the Chancellor is treacherous and fickle, we cannot sever ties just yet. Beating them to death is unwise." I asked, feigning ignorance. "What has happened?" Pei Zhang roared. "These 2 venomous women, while visiting their children, simultaneously strangled each other's infants to death." Lu Yundong and her elder sister knelt on the ground, kowtowing incessantly, both wailing, "We are innocent. We did not kill her child." They were right, they hadn't strangled each other's children. But they had strangled their own, each trying to frame me for the deed. Seeing me sitting perfectly fine beside Pei Zhang, they realized I must have tampered with their invitations. In unison, they declared, "It was Hai Tang. This is all Haitong's conspiracy. Hearing this, Pei Jing flew into a rage. How dare you slander my crown princess? This left not only Lu Yundong and her elder sister kneeling in shock, but me as well. The empress explained. Jinger had repeatedly petitioned His Majesty, stating you saved his life and requesting to establish you as crown princess. The emperor had already consented, and the imperial decree was issued. Yet before it could be proclaimed, this incident occurred. My sister stared at me blankly, her face turning ashen. In my past life, I was her greatest ally. In this life, she regarded me as her fiercest rival, seeking my destruction at all costs. Little did she know that by strangling her own child, she had removed her greatest obstacle, Lu Yunmeng. Consumed by grief over losing 2 children, Pei Zhang's rage overtook him. Ignoring the empress's pleas, he ordered my elder sister dragged out and beaten to death with clubs. My elder sister screamed desperately for me to save her, just as I had pleaded for her help in my previous life. I stepped close to her, whispering into her ear, "Sister, when I was framed and brutally murdered, it was you who executed me in the name of justice. Now you've killed your own child to frame me, how dare you beg me for mercy?" Her eyes widened abruptly as she murmured, "How could this be? How did you remember?" Truthfully, ever since she asked me to intervene and smooth things over with the officials that time, I'd suspected she'd recalled fragments of her past life. Her behavior now was so different from her previous incarnation, once unassuming and unambitious. She'd become scheming and ruthless. Scheming and plotting were tactics she'd scorned in her former life. I didn't answer her. Turning away, I left her wails echoing behind me. Lu Yuming never became imperial consort in this life either. Enraged, Pei Jing ordered her dragged out and beaten to death with clubs. Because of the circumstances surrounding Lu Yuming's death, after the emperor's passing, the crown prince faced numerous obstacles set by the chancellor upon ascending the throne. Yet these schemes were like grasshoppers in autumn, they fluttered about briefly before running out of steam. The crown prince ascended the throne without incident, and I was crowned empress. A year later, my son was born and immediately designated crown prince by Pei Jing. In the 3rd year, I gave birth to a daughter, who became the most cherished princess in the palace. Rumors circulated within the palace about how, during my time in the Eastern Palace, I had schemed to kill Pei Jing's beloved and the former chancellor's daughter. These rumors were wildly exaggerated, and I couldn't be bothered to set the record straight. Whenever the other consorts heard these tales, they shivered with fear, never daring to plot against me. The 1 or 2 who dared to scheme against me and my children were swiftly exposed. I didn't need Pei Jing to punish them, I banished them directly to the cold palace. They all feared my ruthless methods and dared not make mistakes. Pei Jing, however, praised my capable management, saying I kept his inner court peaceful, allowing him to focus solely on the affairs of the front court. Having lived this life anew, I still strive hard, pushing forward courageously, and finally achieved a carefree and unburdened state. The end.